Well, good morning from the beautiful USA. I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt here on LinkedIn, and my method is simpler, faster, better. And I have an organization called Process Cleanup, and I'm also a live stream host. And I'm welcoming Stephanie all the way from Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. Hi, Stephanie.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good. We were chatting offline for sure, and just want to give a shout out to our mutual colleague, St. Isaacs. He was hoping to do a pop in, but he's already committed, like a busy guy he is, right?
Yeah, very. Yeah, we've already connected this morning. He and I on Coffee on the Peak. So
Yeah.
he has a long list of people today.
Yeah, so I'm actually flattered and honored I have another co-host. It's always fun, particularly in the setup as we did. I don't have to do too much work behind the scenes. So thank you for that.
Not a problem.
All right. So if you are listening in, Stephanie and I can't actually see you unless you say something. And we would love to at least know where you're tuning in from. So you can say hi, you can ask a question, you can make a comment, and we're trying out, at least on my side, a little beta version of adding the comments underneath our shining faces here. So we'll see if it works, right?
No, there's Lindsay.
Oh, well, hello, Lindsay. All right, cool. Of course, Ron, our trusted fellow buddy from way back. All right, so I like to cover, I'm a process guy through and through, so I have a process for everything. So the one thing that I like to do is go over what I call the 4 C's of LinkedIn. A lot of people say to me, that LinkedIn stuff still doesn't work very well. Well, probably because you're going to miss one of these C's. So I want to cover them. So the first C is having a conversation, and typically conversations start in comments. So, and you're a classic example of this, Stephanie. We went through chatting in comments, and then we actually kind of reconnected. So the second C is making a connection with somebody. So yeah, use those comments. It's the best use of your time, especially if you only have a short period of time, right? 5 minutes a day. Commenting can get you a lot of connections. And then from those connections, you're going to really think about, is this somebody that I really want in my community? And communities can be small, big, undefined. It doesn't really matter. But we all have multiple communities. And I know Stephanie and I are going to come back and chat a little bit more about that because we have some common areas of interest. So another see, commonality and community. And then the real big thing, and this is the step that most people kind of miss on the LinkedIn side of things, is that, it's in that community and building that know me, like me, trust me part of the community. That's when you should reach out to collaborate. And, so comments lead to connection leads to community or communities in my case. And I know Stephanie has many too. And in those communities, I'm pretty rough with people sometimes. I put my money where my mouth is, which is I only do stuff from my communities and I collaborate with people there. So those are the 4 C's. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I actually, that's exactly how I operate as well. And and it's interesting because those are the people that we usually invite on Coffee on the Peak. And so you find some mutual connection and or somebody I find interesting. So I reach out and connect. And it's how I operate almost every single day because my job is to meet the people for my company. And so you got to start somewhere. So
yeah, I'm sorry. There's a little delay. I didn't mean to cut you off. There's another very key C word, curiosity, right? And what I found is that people aren't curious. Typically, they're very transactional. So they just want to make a sale and move on. Well, the people I find that are curious will actually spend more time not only getting to know you, but also getting to know a little bit about really what they want. Because I don't know about you, but I meet many people and, they sort of think they know what they want, but when you ask them key questions, it ends up being something completely different. So
correct. Oh, 100%. I agree with that statement. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And and actually I want to do a shout out. Lindsay's a relatively new connection. So we actually went through the 4 C's, and we have a mutual in common, Charlene, another C, as it turns out. And then Ron Thane and I, we go way back to pre-Zoom days. You know, we were all swimming around in the dark, you know, especially when COVID hit heavily, everybody, and we were all fathoming out, well, you know, how do we still stay connected, and how do we at least have a conversation with people, because we were used to doing that only in person. So you know, big shift. As it turns out, a very welcome shift. You know, it forced me to learn stuff I never thought I was going to have to learn. And then, you know, particularly as a behavioral introvert, you know, a lot of people think, oh, you know, you host and all that, you're all extroverted, but it's not the case.
Right. Yeah. No, you know, and I think it's generational too. We're used to that face-to-face or phone, you know, hearing a person's voice, where these younger generations, they still went on because it's texting and Snapchat and all the other things where there's no personal interaction.
Right.
And I think that COVID, you know, kind of helped open it up for us older folks who needed to see your face or hear your voice, for sure.
Yeah, I call that digi-physical. So it's a combination of digital and physical. And in fact, I've been starting to post those series because my 3D digital space behind me is almost ready to roll out. And so this will be my biggest community eventually. I've been working diligently on creating what I call a one place for everything to be in, and a one place for me to go do everything. So my goal eventually is actually to drop StreamYard, and because there's live streaming inside of my space, we haven't quite fathomed it all out yet. So so that's my goal, is to be in one place anywhere I want to be on the planet, and people aren't going to know where I'm at. So
it's kind of like that Where's Waldo, right?
Where's Waldo? In this case, where's Brucey?
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, in July and August, I will be Boracay Bruce. I'm actually going to be working and living on the island of Boracay in the Philippines. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is. So I did the first experiment in January, which was a huge lesson learned about what I wasn't ready for. So
humidity, is that one of them?
No, actually, even more basic, like power and good internet equipment. So
gotcha. Yeah.
So when I go back next time, very later this month, I've solved both those things, because the place I've rented has a backup generator. So that's the power thing. And I'm actually taking my own Starlink mini system with me, and that'll solve the internet thing. So
wow, very good. Very good. Yeah. I guess I would have thought that the Philippines would have had the better you know, like the internet kind of thing. It doesn't surprise me about the power, but the humidity does me in. It's just really hot down there. It's really humid.
So the key thing with the Philippines, it depends where. I mean, if you're in Manila or their central business district, Makati, absolutely no problem at all. But remember, there are 700 and something islands that make up the Philippines. So, so every island is different. And so, anyway.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. All right. So Yolanda and I met in person, talk about conversation to connection to community, and then we met in person, and we actually that came about because a guest was Lorenzo, the lady Genesis. She's a generational owner, and she has frozen pudding. And so Yolanda and I met a couple of weeks ago in Dallas. Again, I was there, and she brought the frozen pudding for us to try. So.
Nice. That sounds good. That sounds nice.
Yeah. All right. So talking about our up and coming, I call them high potential team members, high potential leaders. I know we have that in common. So talk to us a little bit about, I know you're very passionate about helping people maybe look at the industry and the space that you're in, and they may never ever have thought about it before. So talk to us about some of the things you're doing to help our up and coming leaders to be, or up and coming high performing team members. So
yeah, I'm really passionate. It started out as really supporting women in the landscape industry. We are definitely a minority group
yes.
in our industry. 8 to 10% is the most at this point. And as a person who is over 50 and was, there was a lot of struggles in my career.
Right.
And so I feel like when you hit a certain point, and my sister-in-law said it best, when you hit 50, it's very freeing. I didn't understand it at the time, but what I realize now is all my experiences and just kind of my age and maturity at this point is, I felt like I want to do something bigger than myself, and that meant supporting somebody. And so I had connected with a woman in Buffalo, New York, who was looking for somebody as a mentor, and she reached out, and we just were meeting on the regular, and she was in a situation where she was the only woman, and we just kept talking and talking. And what I found was, although she always tells me, like, you have no idea how you changed my life, I was getting fulfillment out of it because I was helping, and it was filling my cup. And so I just got more and more involved and realized that some of these same things that I had gone through were still happening. And there was a group of women in the national organization that had gotten together and formed this women's group. And so I was like, hey, I'd love to be part of that. And now we just, it's all about that. And we need the men at the table. But then I realized we need more women to come into the industry. So then I started looking at, well, what does that look like? And getting involved in trades and really promoting the green industry in the high schools and junior highs and even in college, or, trade schools and such.
Right. Yeah, you bet. So actually, we do have that kind of niche, not the marketplace, but I am all about helping mentor, guide, coach, whatever the term is, but at least share what I call some of my legacy, some of my intellectual property between my ears. When I leave the planet, wouldn't it be a shame if all that IP went with me? So, so yes, I love to actually be guide, mentor to, as I call it, high pots, high potential, up and coming leaders, team members. And through my corporate customer, I recently have had the opportunity to do that again. And yes, it's very fulfilling. And my young lady, her name is Brianna. She shocks me every time I work alongside her. She's like, she doesn't realize how good she is.
Right. Yes. Yes. And that's common with women.
Yeah. Ron said it, legacy. And yes, thank you, Ron, from Maryland. And I'm not sure where Lindsay was tapping in from. I know Londa's in the North Dallas area, Plano, Frisco. So anyway, I must have missed
from
it.
Minneapolis. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Minneapolis. Oh, good. Snow and summer.
Right.
Business there, right?
Yep.
And I guess for Maryland as well. So yeah.
Yep.
I know. I learned about the not so good end of the snow business. I used to live in Erie, Pennsylvania. So
yeah.
And I lived on the second level of the lake effect snow bands, as they called it. So I stuck that out for 6 winters and I left. I was like, wasn't for me. So
yeah, that was probably 5 more than I would have. So
yeah, it's people that haven't been in lake effect snow or don't understand how it works. No matter how much people try and explain it to you, which people tried to do, and it's like, oh, I got this. I was cocky.
Yeah,
I didn't have it at all.
Yeah. After that first one, I've been like, I need to reevaluate. We need to leave.
Right. Sure. Well, in Missouri, I remember that was my import state. In 1994, the corporation I was with flew me there to work, and I have never been in an ice storm before, you know, freezing rain, ice storm. And it's like, oh my goodness. And I remember the first time, and again, you know, being, I guess, crazy and overconfident rather than cocky, you know, I decided to go out to try and drive the first, you know, freezing rainstorm we had. And it's like, that was not a good idea. So.
No, I don't care what kind of a driver you are. Or I don't care if you're from the north and you've experienced the worst snow of your life. Ice will humble every single person.
It's a very humbling experience for sure.
It's very much so.
Yeah. So when we have freezing rain and ice, it's like I swallowed my pride, but back then we didn't have the opportunity to do remote stuff like we do now, you know.
Right. So. Yeah, exactly. So this is a game changer for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So if you have questions, particularly for Stephanie about her work, and so I like to hear about stories, and you don't need to mention names. What's maybe a good success story, and maybe one that's not so good, and what you learn from that. So.
Yeah. Well, the young woman, Jenny, from Buffalo, she is a great success story, and a person who really lacked confidence but really, really wanted to be successful. And for me, a success story is someone who's doing better than I am. And a lot of people think that's interesting. You know, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I want her at where she is at. If she's doing better than I am where I'm at, right, that's great. I want that for her. I want that, you know, that's the goal, is for them to exceed and excel where I am. And you know, there's a lot of, you know, she learned a lot, and she taught me things too. She's younger than I am. So, you know, we talk about this technology, like there are times where I was like, hey, so I'm working on this. Could you give me a little advice? You know, and it was great. And what's come of it is a really great friendship. I cannot even describe that friendship. It's almost like a sister to, you know, older sister, younger sister kind of feeling, but and we support each other. She got to come to my house for a long weekend in St. Louis just last month, and we had a great time. She had never been to a Major League Baseball game before, and we attempted that, but the game got rained out. Yeah, I would say Jenny is she now works for the Integra Group. She decided to leave the green industry, and she wanted to. She actually wanted to get out of the industry. I'm like, I think you need to slow your roll. I'm like, you bring a lot of value, and there's a whole big world out there that you can still work with the industry, just maybe not in it if you don't want to. And so that's what she's doing, and she's actually getting her MBA, Miss 4.0, and so she's wicked smart, and she's doing the things now too. So over all these years, now she's gained so much experience. Now she's supporting women and helping and mentoring. And it's fun. It's just like this, you know, it just keeps growing. And, you know, there are people that have, you know, they come and they want support, but you know, I can tell you what you want to hear, or I can tell you the truth, and you do what you want. And some people are not open to being, you know, given the truth. And I think, again, that kind of comes with maturity. Because I remember when I was 20 something, 30 something, I didn't want to be told. I was like, but I also, in my defense, I feel like I was kind of like, I had to hold my own because there was nobody really there to guide me. And so, but again, as I've matured, I'm like, yeah, I don't know everything. I'm open to anything you have to tell me. And that's been unfortunate, but you know, you take a horse to water, you can't make it drink. So,
you know, and it's a great circle to the title, right? Action meets mindset. And why I find that intriguing. That's your tagline for Coffee on the Peak. And you know, I remember saying, Ron and Jill and myself and some of the others we created early on, and Gracie, early on in COVID, we created this collective. We called it a collective, and we were trying to collect our shared knowledge because we didn't know anything about 𝐷𝐷𝐿. But what was interesting is that, you know, my mom used to really annoy me about some of her one-liners, and one of her one-liners, and I came from an all sisterhood, absent father, so she didn't call me by my name, she would call me boy. So she would say to me, boy, words are cheap, actions are priceless. And that was her way of basically telling me, you talk too much and you're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that always reminds me of, there's a lot of people that are really good at talking. And I love that. I'm a talker too. But if you don't take any action to make anything different, then same old equals same old, as they say in Dallas, Texas. So, you know, so it's that action does not only meet your mindset, but your mindset will change if you take action. And it doesn't mean to be massive action. Right. It can be little baby steps, right? Little pieces every day. So, So what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you 100%. A couple of years ago, when I met Thane in person at 𝐼𝐡𝐞 when we were in Hartford, he's like, you need to do a podcast. And I was like, at the time I was like, yeah. But I was like, I don't know. Do I have time for that? I don't know where to start with that. And I kind of let it go to the side, and he kept on me. And when this opportunity for Coffee on the Beach came up,
right.
I was like, let's give it, I'll try it, but let's give it a little time and see what it all looks like. And this has given me the confidence to be, hey, I have something to say of value and whoever accepts it or doesn't, it's not my problem. And what I've found is it's made a difference. It's made a difference for me to build my confidence in the things in my 5-year plan, which I'm on year 4. So now I'm kind of like setting myself up for what's next. Right. But it's also given me the opportunity to really bring my soapbox and stand on it and really talk about issues that are important to me and find those people, my community, of people who are like-minded and want to be part of that and help. And like, what's next? What can we do? And that's really been fulfilling. So I think those little steps, and sometimes you need those people, and you never know when you're going to encounter those people to kind of nudge you along, and and then opportunities present themselves. And Michael Jordan always says, you're not going to make the point, or something about the shots that you don't make, or something like that. You just got to keep making shots.
Don't take, you'll never score.
Exactly. And so I'm a big Michael Jordan fan. So so it's one of those things, as my confidence was growing, it's like, well, let's try this. Let's do this. Yeah. And so I'm finding myself doing more and more of that as I've gotten these opportunities. So
right. Yeah, thanks, Yolanda. Actions are priceless. Maybe I shouldn't say words are cheap, but it just rings true in my head. I can still hear my mom's voice. It used to still annoy me, but now it's more, now she's not with us, you remember those things in a different way, but
for sure.
All good. Yeah. So, what I found with confidence, again, people find it hard to believe. I always come out behaviorally introverted on all the tests, and people say, no, you can't be. It's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But it's what I found, particularly with being in a live stream arena, you never know what's going to happen, number one. So I was always paranoid about overthinking about all the things that could happen. Yes. So that's helped me be less paranoid than I am.
Right.
But more importantly, what it does is it actually gives you the confidence to mess up. And people don't realize that if you look at somebody who's really successful, and it doesn't matter how they term success, they're equally good at not only doing the good things, but they're also really good at recovering after they mess up or accepting that they've messed up, right?
Yes.
And that to me always used to be kind of devastating. I used to think that was a personal negative hit, but it's not, and actually growth or the change in mindset will often come from actions that you have to do when you have messed up, right? So
absolutely. Just a few weeks ago on Coffee on the Peak, we were having where I was, we were having a big thunderstorm, and there was a big flash of lightning, and minutes of having to get on, and I couldn't log on. Like, the Wi-Fi was out. Right. And I'm texting Thane, like, I'm having a problem. I'm running through the house trying to figure out what the problem is. Is it me, or is it the house? Is it whatever it's going on? And, and I get in, and I'm coming in hot, and I'm, you could tell something has just happened as I'm looking at the camera. And Thane goes, so, and I'm like, yeah. But kind of putting it out there, and people can relate to that, And I think that's the most important thing, is that when you show vulnerability like that, like, my life's not perfect, this show's not perfect. When you show that things in life happen, it's like, oh, it even happens to them. And I'm not a special person, but we kind of do the same thing every week. It's very routine for us on how we do it. And when something goes awry, it's how you adapt and adjust. And then that tells everybody they're like, oh, that's happened to me, or, oh, wow, that happened. And it relaxes everybody. It's like, I'm a human being, I put my pants on the same way you do, feet first. So, so I think that, when you can show, how you handle things and that vulnerability, it makes you human, and people understand, like, Steve Jobs, I'm sure he had lots of failures in how he handled it, showed it, and managed it. That shows everybody, what they need to do. So, right.
So Yolanda, thank you. You put the actual correct wording.
So. Yes, thank you. You needed to put goat behind that.
It's not in the vulnerability, but it's the realness, right? So I can't remember how many times, I had everything set, and the one thing you can't control is the weather related stuff, or power outage related stuff, or I always remember I was actually on the other side of the loop, which has been a guest, and I'd been working with actually Gabriel for a long time, and he said, come be my guest. And we were, anyway, cut a long story short, the morning of, I'm all ready to go, and I'm in Southern California, then we have a major power outage, and so there's no internet, there's no power, so in the whole area. So I drive to a couple miles away, and I find a Starbucks that is got power. It's got its own generator, and I can sit in the visitor parking spot and tap into their Wi-Fi. So I remember I said, Gabe, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to have to do this in my car, borrowing
right
Starbucks free Wi-Fi, and that's how we did it. And then so that one was pretty memorable. And then on the flip side of that, I was hosting, and same thing. Canyon Country, California wasn't the most reliable for power. We used to get severe storms there. Another time, and then through that, I learned that next to that Starbucks was a UPS store who also had its own generator and its own Wi-Fi, and I was a UPS customer. So
there you go.
Fast forward several weeks later, it happened again. So I drove to the UPS store, and they just opened, and I said, hey, to the man, I said, do you mind if I just do something? And he said, as long as you don't disturb the customers. So I sat literally in the corner on the floor of the UPS store and hosted a live stream. So it was like,
there you go. Yeah. And that's the thing, be creative, it'll work itself out. It's when you go into freak out mode, and you don't know, some people don't handle that well. But just got to figure it out and hope for the best.
Yeah. Well, actually your line before we literally went live was, hey, let's just go with the flow. And then one of my statements to that is, there's a lot of friction that we're all exposed to every day. So one of my favorite little taglines, actually, Charlene Nichols helped me with this, is, you know, in a sea of friction, you have to learn to swim like a dolphin. Right. So, and it's those people that fathom out how to bust their way through the friction, or having the mindset to not be defeated by that friction or distracted. And you got to flow and go as best as you can, and if you can't, you got to adapt and adjust, as you said. So
100%. Yes.
Cool.
I feel like the people that are willing to adapt and adjust are the people that are most successful. I think the folks that are, you know, they just get stuck, and it's kind of like the book Who Moved My Cheese. And if you haven't read it, read it. It's a super simple, short book, very easy read, a couple hours, but that is the best example. You know, you have to adjust. Life changes. Like the way you were in your 20s is not what you're going to be in your 50s, and you have to adjust to everything. So,
well, I think that timeline actually is accelerating. So again, it's, you know, for me, sometimes it's month to month. You know, the way that you thought you were going to have to do things this month can literally change the course of things for the following month. So, so I think the rapid increase in change is something that, you know, as a baby boomer, I don't adapt to that as well as people that are more used to that in a different generation to me. So so that's and that's where the mismatch I find in communications occurs, because, you know, a lot of the people, particularly if I'm working with high potential team members or high potential up and coming leaders, they don't process and do work the same way that I do. And and one of my greatest challenges is to get past my own bias about how I think they should do something. and just be clear about, here's what the outcome is, and then get out of their way. And and the getting out of their way is the hardest thing to do, because
Yes. I just commented recently on a post on LinkedIn. I'm trying to think of who this was. Actually, it was on TikTok, honestly. And I've just become a TikTok person. As my son says, Mom, you need to not be on there. But there's a business person, a businessman in St. Louis who owns a lot of property and manages it. And he does a lot of, he puts on, you know, he talks about leadership and things like that. And he just talked about generations and letting your team, just because they might not do it the way you do it, it doesn't mean it's wrong. And we both, and I commented, I'm like, and we commented on that because I'm a type A, totally type A person, probably double A. I work with type A, double and triple A's. And so we all have to understand our role in a situation. And what I've learned from that is I'm all about getting something done, but I'm not about the nth degree of the detail. I work with people that are that person. And so we know our roles. And so I can be here's what I'm thinking. These are my ideas. And then I can hand it over and they'll format it and make it look beautiful. And it's not that they work for me. It's just, they're going to look at things much differently and much more critically than I would, because I'm like, this is fine. Because are they going to really look at that, you know, that font is a little bit different? To me, no. But to them, absolutely. And so we just all have to find our role, and we have to also be accepting of others' viewpoints and perspective and how they handle, you know, their business, and be okay with that. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Well, talking about action meets mindset, what I've learned with all the high pots I work with is that the real key is be crystal clear about what you want the outcome to be.
Yes.
And then stop micromanaging them.
Yes. Yes.
Because I'm an A type. I'm both strategic and detail orientated, which drives people crazy. So, people used to say to me, Bruce, you're like a seagull manager. You can be 1,000 feet off the beach and doing the strategy, and then you suddenly dive onto the beach and ask somebody, what's that grain of sand doing there? Why was it there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that leadership style is tough for some people, but letting go of that micromanagement with high potential up and coming leaders is super critical. Absolutely. And that's the thing that gives me the greatest churn. It's like kind of get emotional about it. So, oh my God, what if they mess up? And what if I met, and you do all this doubting stuff, and that negatively impacts your mindset. So again, I find that if you just set them up in the best way you can and just get out of their way, let them go do what they need to do.
Yeah, that was a problem. That was something that I kind of learned I definitely learned the hard way when I was in the industry, because I had come up through the ranks of that leadership. Right. And so as Gen X, we're kind of in this weird spot because we were mentored by baby boomers who were like that, and yet we're working with or for or leading these others who they want you to be hands off, and or they want you, and let me rephrase that, they want you to be a coach. So the difference on that is, if I'm playing a basketball game, okay, and I'm the coach, I'm going to give you a couple of pointers to help the outcome, but at the end of the game or the next day in practice, I'm going to give you all the data. I'm going to download what I think we could have maybe done better so that we can course correct for the next time. Right. And Neil Glatt said it best. He said, these younger generations have always been in some sort of a team or group where there's constant feedback. And it's not, it's not micromanaging. It's, we're laying it out. Okay, do it. Okay, now come back and we're going to course correct. Right. And so Gen X is kind of, we're kind of all over the place because we've had this leadership for so long, and now we have to be like, what you want, what? And so, and the micromanagement piece is not, it's not a part, but you said it best, well, what if it doesn't go right? And this business leader in St. Louis and I were like, and I was like, but what if it does? What if it works out? What if it happens and it works out well? Great. So I feel like, it's just, it's a leap of faith, and you hope that you've trained them well. You hope that you've, like you said, laid out your expectation and what you want the outcome to be, communicated, which is one of your C's. And, and if you haven't, then that, it's kind of on you or Absolutely. On me or whatever. So,
you own the framework, not all the micro steps.
Correct.
That's the piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And like you, I was brought up traditional command and control work structure,
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was too. You managed by fear but at the time too, there was a plethora of people that could replace you super easy. And now we don't have that workforce readily available, but we have technology, and technology can do the work of a lot of of people. Not all of it, right? But it's there. It can easily do that. So
well, the last point on that before I ask you what you got coming up, because time's flown by. So I'm one of those people that are curious of, so I have actually a digital twin of myself. He's called Bruce Blah, BLEU. Okay. I've been starting to post about him this week, and he's my AI version of me. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. The cool thing though is he's trainable. So it's almost like having a mentor and a mentee. So I'm doing a lot of little bits of training with him, even though he's a digital, he's not a, warm-blooded human flesh type person. So but it's really interesting because, what I found is he doesn't need a bathroom break. Nope. He doesn't get attitude.
Right.
He's always there as long as the internet's fast. So it's really bizarre to me that I can operate in both worlds, digi-physical, and that's why I want to show other people that you can do it. Doesn't matter what your own age is or what your own experience is. With a little bit of guidance, other people can do the same. And
absolutely. I use ChatGPT a lot in my job, and I know that there was a little bit of resistance in our organization because people wanted to do their own thinking. What I find is I'm doing my own thinking. I just need it refined because I need to move on to the next thing. And so it used to take me, I'd write an email and then I'd come back to it and reread it and write it again. And so now I can write this email, put it all in there, and then I send it to ChatGPT and I'm like, and I'll tell it the tone and tenor that I want. Or if I'm doing a social post, this is for LinkedIn and this is promoting, and it learns, right? Which some people are nervous about, but for me in my job, it really, really helps me out. And ChatGPT gets a little chippy sometimes. You have to say please and thank you.
Well, it's just another tool, right?
It's a tool.
It's just a streamlining tool. The thing that I love when I'm doing my piece with it is, and it's all about the prompts, and you haven't got to be scared of the prompts. And what I find is it'll come up with options that I've never thought about.
Yes.
Or it'll come up with sentences that I could never create in my own head, right?
Yeah, 100%. Right.
And they're very on point. If you want to make it snappy and to the point, which is my problem very often, that to me, that's the greatest tool for ChatGPT is you take all of this circumstantial stuff and I tell it, hey, make it snappy and to the point. And in my tone, in my choice of words, in my whatever, my genre, whatever I tell it to do, and it does learn. It learns very quickly. So it's amazing.
Yep. Tyler Johnson's on. Tyler's out of Minnesota as well.
So, okay.
Yep. Hi, Tyler.
Yeah, well, a lot of northern state people, at least on the snow management side of things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely.
Snow and ice. Okay. So what do you got coming up? And
coming up next week, I will be going to the Snow and Ice Symposium, SIMA conference in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay. And I hope there isn't any snow and ice.
No. But I also am attending the Influential Encounters event, which is on Tuesday. Jillian Burns and 𝐷 are the creators of that organization, and they bring a lot of women together. I think there's 40 or 45 that are in the snow industry, and it's a fantastic group. And I've met just an incredible amount of inspirational women in that group. So kind of sets the tone for the week, which is a lot of fun. So, and then that following week, I'll be going to Skills USA for the national competition. The NLAP has a booth, and this is in Atlanta. So I'll be down there the last week of June.
So is Melissa in those groups? I've forgotten her last name.
Oliveira?
Yes, Melissa Oliveira.
She came to the last Influential Encounters when we were in Pennsylvania. She is from the Miami area, so that was I think a one-off thing. But we hope to get her back when we go to Boston in December. But she will not be there for this event. So she is working hard down in South Florida.
Yes, she was a live stream guest a long time ago, and yes, I've because she leave the sector for a little bit, and then she came back.
She left a little bit, and something, it was a good opportunity, and then it didn't turn out to be a great opportunity, and she came back to the industry, and she really likes the industry, and she really, really likes the company ECF that she works for. So
absolutely. Well, she brings a different nuance to it. So
it's
always refreshing.
Yes, she's a wonderful person.
Yeah. All right. So Yolanda's right. It's all about getting the tools to be better and better. And thanks, Tyler, for hopping on. I don't know you, but thanks for supporting Stephanie here. All right. So how do you prefer people to get hold of you? And then I'll do like my little outtakes and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on there fairly regularly. Yep. And so, but I'm also on Facebook. If you find me there, or if you, I'm with the Integra Group. So you can always email me at stephanie.leveling@theintegragroup.com.
Okay. Yeah. And you can drop, so the replay acts like a post, so you can drop your information in there. Excellent. And any links, and be bold, drop your TikTok in there. I'm a mature TikToker as well. I haven't done him for a while, but mine's at Simpler, Faster, Better, of course, for my. So yeah. But yeah, there's a lot more baby boomers on TikTok than people realize. So
yeah, as my child says, my 16-year-old says, it shouldn't be. So
well, we need obviously to re-educate him, right?
Right. Yeah. I just do it to annoy him.
Oh, well, as you should.
As I should as a parent, for sure. Yeah.
It's what my mom used to do to me. So
it's my greatest joy.
Okay, I'm going to do a couple of little outtakes. But the second one I need to update because I've updated my 3D space. So
you're frustrated that you have no time and you just hate it. You lost your mind. You're running around the kids and the spouse, and the business that was once your passion has got you burnt out. So, consult with Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt. He'll help you find the truth so that you can do you first. See, it's all about simpler, faster, better, so you can save massive amounts of time and money instead of longing for the day where you can finally kick your feet up. Oh, do yourself a favor. Call up Bruce. He'll tell you about process cleanup.
all right. So if you ever want a brand story, Devin James is your man. He's up in Portland, Oregon. So
that was good.
Good guy. All right. So this one's a little out of date, but this will give you some idea of my 3D space. And instead of connect, shop, play, it's now consult, explore, collaborate. So my word this year is explore. So we'll see. We ended up creating 3 spaces, which people are going to be able to see. And we ended up with spaces called connect and shop and play.
You don't want to miss out. That's all I'm going to say. The right place, the right time, the right tech. In the omniverse is where I place my bet.
Connect and shop and play.
Imagine having Google stocks back in the day when you got up on the ground floor. Pennies to the dollar, this is opportunity calling, so you better yell holla.
Silly stuff. Yeah, I need to update it. So as I said, I've now enhanced my spaces. I have 3 spaces in my 3D all in one place. And yeah, it's consult, explore, collaborate. So more in line with really what I've thought through and want to do with the space. So and again, definitely my 2025 power word was explore. Actually evolve. Last year it was explore. So yeah.
Gotcha.
All right.
Gotcha.
Final thoughts?
Just get it. Just go and just go through the storm. Get through it. Don't hesitate. You know, if you don't, you know, when you're in it, it's like NASCAR, where they say when there is a wreck, you know, whatever's in your ear, they're telling them to just keep driving through. Don't worry about the smoke. Don't worry about, they're going to get you through it. And so if your gut is telling you to do it, just keep driving through it. That's the approach that I'm taking. And I'm finding that I'm not so nervous about it anymore. And I've got confidence to do it.
Yeah, sure. And again, the mindset will change. If you know, if the mindset's a little bit off, go do something. Take some action.
Yep, absolutely.
Even if go treat yourself, do a simple pleasure, you know, do something. But it's all about the action and not what you say. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
All right.
So,
Well, thank you so much for your time. Just hang for a minute. All right. Thanks for all the great comments and engagement. It's truly appreciated today on this fabulous Friday. And, you know, it wasn't too bad. Friday the 13th is open.
Yeah. I'm knocking on the wood.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have to go run to a in-person meeting soon. So see, Digi-Physical Day.
There you go. There you go.
Practicing what I preach.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Okay, thanks. Hang for a minute.
Yep.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.